Hello and welcome to A Star to Steer Her By, a Star Trek podcast featuring me, Ames.
And me, Caitlin.
And me, Jake.
You, Jake.
I don't know why that was so funny. And me, Chris.
Awesome. We are on episode 64.
Woo!
Woo! And take out your calculus books because we are on When the Bough Breaks and Home Soil this week. Something got soiled, that's for sure. Hey-o! I'm very tired today. We'll see if I can get through this.
You got this.
Here we go. In When the Bough Breaks, we are on the way to Aldea, a legendary world that people don't even realize exists, I guess.
That's why we're going there.
Which is why we're going to see if it actually exists.
Well, because they picked up energy readings or something.
And how long are they going to stay at Aldea?
All day.
Fuck you guys.
Actually, it ended up being several days.
So we meet up with the Aldeans. They're weird, and because they obviously are, they want something, as Troy notices. Because Troy notices these things. Do you know why, guys?
Is she an empath?
She is an empath.
What?
I didn't know.
my
We're
goodness.
17
How did we
episodes
make-
in, and I didn't know. So they want something from the Enterprise, and I'm not quite sure what.
The Enterprise.
The
The Enterprise.
Do they
want
want
some ketchup with
I was
that?
going to say, do they want some Enterprise with that? Oh, shit. Is it medicine?
Close.
Is it...
Why are we playing a guessing game?
I don't know. Is
with
it
these
More-
computers?
More harpist porn.
Ooh.
So we're talking with the Aldeans, and they reveal to us that what their world is missing, that they very badly need, is children to carry on their culture and custom, because they're like an artistic society, and that always is a good thing. It never is a good thing. They always go to shit somehow. And they ask the Enterprise, can we just have your kids? We notice you guys got kids on board.
Well, some of them.
Can we have the good ones? And Wesley. And then, obviously, Riker and Troy and the other one, Crusher, say, no, that's not really how our society works. In our society, we want to keep our kids around because we get attached to them because we're simple creatures. Too much, Chris.
Stop.
Too much.
That wasn't forced, though.
Hit you with rocks and sticks. And so they go back up to the Enterprise, and the Aldeans just decide to kidnap, like, 7 kids, or 6 good kids and Wesley. Just because.
6.5 good kids.
And then they ask the Enterprise, all right, so we've got your kids. What do you want as payment? So the Enterprise says, this isn't what we decided. We wanted to keep those kids. There is no deal. We would like them back. And the episode for a while just kind of goes on, seeing what the kids are up to because they're trying to learn how to be artists because that's what they're being forced to be on this fucking planet. And the Enterprise every so often trying to figure out how do we get down there so we can get the kids back. Well, there might be a hole in their big security shield. Oh, maybe we can exploit that. And at some point when they're in their diplomatic conversation with the Aldeans say, well, we're going to keep your kids, and if you try to fight us, we'll do something like this. And they blast the Enterprise 3 days away at Warp 9, and they threaten that if anything else happens, they could blast them away even further, to a point where if they finally did reach the planet again, their kids would now be grandchildren.
So the Delta,
Grandchildren.
so the Delta Quadrant then.
Sure.
Well, it's about a 70-year.
Grandparents. I'm very
trip.
tired. Data and Riker, I think, realize, here's a way we can get down there if we need to, so they kind of beam down secretly through a hole in their defense shield. Picard and Crusher are trying to convince the Aldeans that your people not being able to have children is actually a big problem, and we realized it's because your ozone layer has been depleted. Who knew that this was going to be a thing? So if our kids stay down here, they're going to have the same fucking problem you guys have. By the way, you're all probably dying. We could fix it for you, or you could blast us away again and keep our kids and still have this problem. what's it gonna be? The Eldians pick the latter, but they can't make it happen because Data and Riker have dismantled their device machine that would allow them to do that. So they just decide eventually to make some kind of deal with the Enterprise. One of the kids gives them a hug. Something else happens. Picard was just kind of flummoxed the whole time because he really didn't want to keep these children around to begin with. So this should have been his fucking paradise. And yet he has, like, fucking Crusher all over his shoulder every 5 minutes saying, we really have to have Wesley back. You know how much we need Wesley, right? So they get the kids back, and the Aldeans learn to try to start fixing their stupid device. The end. I think.
That was actually really well done.
Yeah.
Sort of.
And just everything with that small child trying to be nice to Picard.
Oh, that fucking child.
And Patrick Stewart's, as I put it, screaming inside face. I loved it.
In Home Soil, we head over to Valera.
Oh, right, sorry, I forgot that was only the first one.
Wow, yes. I mean, I'm actually doing a terrible job.
No, you're not.
Great.
This is a forgettable episode.
Oh, yeah. It kind of was. Yeah, Valera 3, we're on a terraforming colony, and they're way behind schedule. We're talking with Kurt Mandel, their director, who's like, nope, everything's fine. We have lots to do here. Please let us go on with our work. And Picard won't have any of it, so he says, no, we're gonna come down and make sure everything's okay. And they go down, and they're getting a tour of the space with this terrible woman who could not act her way out of a damp rag. That's not what you act your way out of.
Out of a bag of mostly water.
An ugly bag. Of mostly water. They're on this planet, learning all about terraforming. There's an extra long scene in which we learn about terraforming, which we already know because we've seen Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. But what are you gonna do? They give us a tour, and then they realize, oh no! Melanson, or whatever the guy's fucking name was, is getting brutally murdered by a laser device.
Oh my god.
Whoops! His screams were actually pretty terrifying.
They were.
Yeah,
it was
that was
really
a
good.
delivery.
Yeah, they fixed the laser device that was killing Melanson. Melanson goes back and dies. But then the laser device comes back on and tries to kill Data. But Data fucks it to death. And everything's okay. Data was fucking hot in that scene, though.
Yes, when he emerged from the smoke.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like some sort of pale Batman.
Ames and I are going to be writing slash porn about Data fucking
Data
that laser
and
to
that
death.
laser
to death, yeah.
Super, super hot. Mm-hmm. They're trying to figure out why this thing, spurted up and decided to start trying to kill people. Decided to start fucking people up. Hey-o.
Well done. That one was also sexual.
They come to think either it's been sabotaged or something else is happening because it seems to have been doing it as if through someone's will. It seems to have instructions on how to kill. And that's not an upgrade that is in most Apple products yet. So
Siri, terraform the planet.
They're trying to figure this thing out when suddenly Geordi and Data spot this glowy light thing. And like moths to a flame, they fall in love with it. And they're trying to figure out, what is this glowy light thing? The glowiness of it is so bright. Could it possibly be alive? Because all flashlights are alive? I don't fucking know. So they bring it back to the Enterprise and they're trying to study this thing. And they realize, it doesn't conform with our definition of what organic life is, but it seems to be alive. And after a while they realize, yeah, this thing seems to be alive. It seems to try to be communicating with us. It seems to be able to reproduce every so often if it wants to. All the miners on this fucking terraforming planet are claiming they don't know anything about it. Other things happen which seemed terribly unimportant in the entire episode. Skip to the point, the life form thing lived on the planet, which means they shouldn't be terraforming it because if there's already life on the planet, you shouldn't terraform it. They just weren't able to determine that these things were kind of, sort of, quote unquote, alive.
Does it have to be completely lifeless?
Yes, Chekhov, it does. So they start chatting with the life form. The life form threatens to go to war with them until they realize that the thing that's keeping it alive is the lights are on. Not even going to start. So they rush in, unplug their nightlight, and the creature's like, no, we're dying. What will happen to us now? We're very enraged. And they say, now, creature, we'll turn the lights back on and send you back to your planet if you behave. And the creature's like, okay, I'll do that. So they do that. They send the creature back. The creature's snarky the whole time. It calls them ugly giant bags of mostly water.
Well, being fair, they call them micro brains, so.
Call them micro brains. Micro brains. And they agree, all right, we're not ready for your type of life yet. And the life form says, well, maybe come back in 300 years and you'll understand us. The end? Ish.
Ba, 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 ba.
I'm pretty sure microbrain later is used by Q as an insult to Worf.
Actually, I think it is.
I think
yeah.
he calls Worf microbrain at one point.
And he calls Picard micropeen. Rude.
Oh my.
Meanwhile, Worf is just like, thank you. I am beautiful and mysterious.
But yeah, that's that bow breaking episode. Better than I thought it would be.
Considering it was full of children, I expected like another Miri or another When the Children Shall Lead or whatever that fuck that one was.
Well, it wasn't too full of children. It was like...
The children were still miserable, especially that little girl. That little girl was
the
really
little
shit.
redhead
The little redhead shit.
You know,
The
she didn't get to talk
harpist was
much.
shit too.
That's what they didn't have to. They didn't talk too much, which I think helped.
I thought Harry was good.
He was fine.
He got there. He started off, insufferable and
Well, yeah, because he
punchable.
was being a little brat who didn't understand and appreciate the good life that he had until it was all wrested from his little grasp.
Didn't understand how
Doesn't
much
it
power.
always seem to go
Jake.
that you don't know what you got till it's gone?
Jake is fired.
They paved Paradise and put up a parking lot? They paved Paradise and put up a parking lot.
I don't know what that's from.
It's
Here,
a
you
song.
can splash him with this water.
Don't it always seem to go?
Just throw it in his
You don't
face.
know what you got till it's gone. They paved Paradise and put up a parking lot. Ooh,
Like, honestly,
they paved Paradise and put up a parking lot.
The way you were delivering it, I almost felt like it was something that Shatner had done a spoken word version of,
I
and
could
if he
see
hasn't,
him.
he should.
I could see him doing one.
Could too.
See, I have to admit, though, I mean, Harry was annoying, but at the same time, speaking as someone who detests math, yeah, I can see not wanting to do calculus.
Also, he's like 8 years old. Why is he doing fucking calculus? This is
Because
like...
it's the future!
And that's how smart everyone is now.
I think that's just what they call playing with blocks now.
Well, here's the thing, right? So they want to say, oh yeah, the kids are so smart they can do calculus from their 8, which is stupid because I think part of the problem there is that you can't just teach a kid calculus. Like, you need the foundational concepts.
Oh, he took pre-calculus last year.
Yeah.
When was
like,
trade?
also, like, I also don't think...
Same time.
I mean, I don't know, maybe there's learning beds in the future, and
Oh, like in Brave New World?
I was gonna say, like, Santa Claus conquers the Martians, but sure.
I was thinking that too.
That's honestly where I got it.
I was actually wondering, though, if people are living longer, does that mean that their age of maturity is later, and therefore actually you wouldn't take pre-calculus until you were like 20 years old, not like 14 years old?
So you'd think, but it seems like you still enter the academy at roughly college age by our standards, like 18-ish.
Yeah.
I mean, they're living longer, but they're not like...
I don't know. It's an interesting question. Because, I mean, you've got the weird... So the thing is, what you've got is, on the one hand... Like, you can almost argue that even with our society. Like, we keep the same sort of educational system we've had for quite some time now. But we live longer, and societally you could argue that the age of maturation has continued to shift. You know, children were expected to be ready for more things at younger ages once.
Like marriage.
Yes, and children, and jobs, and then, sort of, it's gotten to the point where, by and large, most, at least in America, most decent jobs require at least a bachelor's degree, if not more. So, like, yeah, it is an interesting question they never really address. But then there's also the issue that, generationally, and I mean, for all that we're making fun of it, stuff we learn now at, like, younger ages, like... I did, have pre-calc in high school, which wouldn't have been a thing, like, probably 50, 60 years ago, except for in, like, an exceptionally gifted program. So, like, maybe saying 8-year-olds are going to do calc is a bit
Well, but it's 300
ridiculous.
years in the future. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe not, because, like, even from... What's a good example? I feel like I learned about fractions in, like, 4th or 5th grade, something like that. I know kids who are...
Why do you know kids?
Family and shit.
Ooh.
I know. But... Like, kids are already starting to learn fractions, like, a year or two earlier than I learned it, so...
Yeah, but there has to be a point where, like Jake was getting at, is, like, you can only give so much of the foundation so quickly.
I think they're skipping stuff. Like, we don't learn cursive anymore in school.
Well, because it's fucking pointless.
Because they can just swap that out with fractions. Because they're like, well, we got this whole fucking hour a day with the kids. Let's just start something else.
I learned cursive in school.
Oh, yeah, so did we.
Yeah, me too, but you don't
kids
anymore.
these days
Oh,
don't.
really? They don't at all?
I think they probably teach them to sign their names, but, like, even that, people aren't going to need much longer. Yeah, well, I mean, like, how will they write a check, and how will they...
Who writes it?
How will they read writing if you don't know?
Well, because who
If
writes?
you type.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I write cursive sometimes.
Oh, see, that's interesting because, I mean, again, I learned cursive, but... I mean, my handwriting is abysmal regardless, but of the two, my printing is kind of legible to other people.
Yeah.
My cursive would be a fucking disaster.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely print better than I write script, but, I think it's really more convenience and speed. It's faster.
That's why you type instead. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that is why they're not teaching it as much in school, though, is because, like, even handwriting, not cursive, just normal handwriting, isn't that common anymore. Like, when I was in college, sometimes kids weren't allowed to bring laptops to class, and now I think it's, like, the regular. Like, people just take notes using computers.
Yeah, I think if you tried to stop laptops in class nowadays, there'd be a revolt.
A guy I work with who has a daughter, I think she's 15, I want to say. I think so. I think she's in high school. Mm-hmm. Was telling me that they require you to have a laptop.
That's classist.
I was going to say, is it a private school? Or
do they provide them if you don't have one?
Well, that's what I don't know. Like, I'm trying to figure that out because I'm like, how the hell... Like, and like, because he was like, he was trying to price out buying a Mac, which is like the more expensive, like the most expensive option.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, man, there's probably a lot of people that can't afford a decent laptop, let alone afford a Mac.
Yeah. Well, where's he? Well,
I think they're from an upper scale town.
Yeah,
so
that's the thing. Like, there, it just doesn't seem as weird because.
But I remember, like, when I was a kid, and certainly when you were kids as well, like, they would bring out the calculators. Like, they were, like, school-owned calculators.
Yeah.
And they would, like, bring out, like, those little caddies, and everyone would get one.
My high school required me to own a TI-83, which I thought was, frankly, a big ask.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Because they're like $125 or something.
Something
ludicrous.
Something like
that. Yeah, I had to get one for one of my math classes.
And it's like, we used the function button once in the entire year, and
it's such a waste.
No, guys, you have to figure out, you gotta make parabola with your fucking...
I mean, again, I'm the wrong person to ask. I do genuinely detest mathematics. I understand its usefulness, but I don't want to have to personally deal with it.
Yeah, I was really good at math. I've forgotten all of it, basically.
Oh, I mean, by the end...
Like, if you give me two numbers, I can barely add anymore, so...
I can only do that because my job needs me to.
Yeah.
So, yes, that was childhood.
But, yeah, the point, I think, is that even if, the age at which... Because children today that I have encountered are way smarter than I was when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Were you a dumb kid? No, you were a smart kid.
I was a dummy, yeah. I was a paste eater. But
was? I've seen you.
That's true. No, I don't know. I feel like maybe it's just because like rich people have smart kids, but kids that I've encountered, they seem smart. They seem like they know more shit.
Well, I think it's because of how technology has developed, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Because
I don't know. I'm pretty sure I can take most kids. So.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying they're smarter than adults. I'm just saying that I think for children, and Caitlin might be right, that it might be related to technology, that, because we had pretty fancy technology when we were kids.
Yeah.
We grew up with computers around.
Dial-up internet.
Yeah, like even if we didn't have as much technology as they have today, I know friends of mine who have young children. The children know how to use the iPad.
Oh, iPads and iPhones.
And it's
everything.
Man, that's some really complicated shit. But then I'm thinking back, it's like, well, yeah, but we were using, we had
I used DOS.
Yeah, we
no
used
kid
DOS.
will ever have to use DOS.
Yeah, so that's a point. So
suck on that, you little bastards.
We used DOS. We used, those fucking Apple IIs where you had to put the disc in and type a thing.
We didn't grow up. We did grow up with computers, but not in the same way. Like, we can all remember the era of the computer becoming a normal household appliance.
We remember when computers were shitty.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually more or less always had a computer in the house.
Yeah, so did my family, but I think we were...
But they weren't any good, right?
We were the exceptions because I think my aunt and uncle had computers and they gave one to my parents and that's how they ended up.
Yeah, and I mean, certainly for the socioeconomic area I came from, most of me and my classmates, we wound up with one at one point, but it was like a hand-me-down from a better-off relative.
Yeah.
Who had gotten a better computer. So we had one, but it was a few years behind the curve. And that was really the case for me until I was in high school, where we bought our first new like family computer.
And that's actually the first computer we had, the one my aunt and uncle gave us, interestingly, was a TI computer.
I didn't know they made full computers.
So with the computer, you can look this up online. It was the TI 994A.
Huh.
It was like basically the form factor was a keyboard, and it took cartridges, kind of like a
Commodore.
kind of like a Commodore or an Atari or a Nintendo, but it had a keyboard. It hooked up to your TV.
Okay.
And it had like all these other like little accoutrements you could add to it. One of them, it had BASIC, the programming language BASIC on it, so you could write little BASIC programs, and then to save them. It didn't have any permanent storage. It didn't have a hard drive or a floppy drive. It had a audio jack. You plug it onto
cassette tapes.
A cassette tape, and you record your program onto a regular Maxell cassette tape.
Okay.
And then play it back.
That is a lot like a Commodore
64
because they ran
Spectrum.
on tapes. Yeah.
Yeah, like so there was a whole slew of these sort of keyboard only computers, and they sold them in the States, but they were huge
most successful.
in 1980s UK for gaming. Like especially because the Nintendo was prohibitively expensive there. So the first Nintendo, they had it, but it wasn't as big as these other things, especially the ZX Spectrum, the Commodore 64, the
That's what they call it though. Like anytime you ever hear about the ZX Spectrum, they always call it ZX. And
right. It's a ZX Spectrum, isn't it?
Z.
So that's the person I am thinking of who reviews him as an Englishman, so he's always called it that.
Larry.
I was thinking of Ashens, but
Were you?
Larry as well.
Oh.
It never occurred to me that it must be ZX Spectrum. I always figured it was spelled out Z, but yeah. Oh! Ha! But yeah, there's actually a video that I can
Briggs,
share of a guy reviewing a bunch of these different keyboard-only computers. And yeah, they all used like audio tapes. Some used cartridges, but most used what we think of as an audio tape. And they would run a game off an audio cassette like Nintendo would use cartridges.
BBC actually had a line of computers.
The BBC Micro.
Yeah.
Yep.
BBC, like the British Broadcasting Company. Is that actually what it stands for? Broadcasting Company?
Yeah.
Corporation, I think.
Corporation? Or whatever.
So, sorry, we're quite a ways in.
It's an interesting tangent, but it's weird as shit.
At least it's related for once. We were talking about, the likelihood of a child knowing, being taught calculus at 8, or however the hell old Harry was supposed to be. We assume 8.
He was probably about 10.
Yeah, maybe.
Is that how little 10-year-olds are?
Yeah, it's weird. So, anything about the episode proper, though, since we've spent mostly talking about child rearing and our youth?
It was good. I liked it. I was creeped out by the old guy that adopted the little girl and was like, play my magical Simon piano.
He was a toucher, man.
He was really old as well. He was like
super
old, no wifey, nothing, or husband.
Where he's teaching her how to play Bop It, and and he's like,
flick it,
but if you just heard the audio to that scene, it would be really disturbing because he's like, hold it a little tighter. Yes, just like that.
Did I break it?
Yes. Did I break it? No, it's fine.
Yeah, no.
Why did it get all soft?
Oh no, no. It's awkward anyway.
Oh, this episode also, as we were discussing, not to change the subject from creepy.
Oh, do so.
I am. The special effects were shockingly good in this episode.
There were some really good ones, yeah. When we saw the big computer device
the
thing
big
at
computer
the end.
thing, that was
computer
either
tunnel.
Whether it was forced perspective or matte or what, that was super well
Regardless.
done.
But it was a
It's
cool
good.
model.
It was great. And there was the bit where I was like, oh god, here comes some 80s CG. Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, that actually looked pretty good. Like I find it's so much better from 1988 than the shit that we got as like redos for TOS on Netflix. But you said it had been remastered. Does that mean?
So what we were watching.
What does remastered actually mean, Jake? Because I have often said the word remastered and don't actually fucking know.
So
to be honest.
I think the actual definition kind of varies, but generally it means you go back to the original recorded mediums.
Mm-hmm.
So.
In this case, the actual film.
For the actual film, or like when you hear like audio being remastered, they're going back to the original audio tapes.
Sure.
So they go back to the original recorded medium, they recut it. Like when they're making an edit on TV, they cut it together.
Yeah.
So they recut it, they recomposite all of the special effects.
They do a side-by-side comparison.
Yeah. So I again, I don't know. But
It's
yeah,
a-
basically what they do is they just take the original. They basically recut the episode shot for shot using the original material, and then
Take out all of Wesley.
take out all of Wesley. Sometimes they fix things as well, like if there were, bad ADR. Oh wait, no, they didn't fix the bad.
Yeah, my God, yeah,
This
that's right. I
episode.
forgot about that.
What's bad ADR?
That's when they film. Most of the time they try to use the on-set audio, like what.
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah.
obviously in this episode they changed the name of the planet between shooting some of the scenes and the actual shooting of the rest of the scenes.
Yeah.
So there's during the cold open, they keep talking about the planet, but nobody's mouths are
Even
saying,
remotely
saying
matches.
what it is, and it's obviously recorded
It's so
over.
bad.
Do we know what it originally was?
It's online somewhere, I think.
But either way,
Somebody knows.
what they should have done for TOS was made the CG shots look like models.
Yeah.
There's a
They kept it like stylistically consistent.
Yeah.
consistent.
That's the thing,
I think
there's
they just stuck out too much. There's a
Why
web
not make
series.
new models? Is that more expensive than
Oh
doing
yeah,
CG?
shooting models is incredibly
That's
expensive.
wild.
It's not just because it's building the model.
building. Oh yeah, and then doing like very very specific filming
Camera
of them.
shots and stuff.
Lighting.
Then you have to
Once you have the
composite.
model in the computer,
Like-
you just
Yeah, CG compositing is like super easy. No, I mean not to diminish the skill involved.
Comparatively.
to doing model. Like that's why some of the movies that did a lot, like Star Wars in 2001, are very impressive.
So what we need is to create an actual enterprise and just film that.
Yes.
Good. We're
Is-
settled.
do we actually think too that people who actually specialize in like making models like that are actually in like smaller quantities and higher demand as well because of the shift to CG? Like, do you think it's one of those holdout things where there's like half as many people doing it as they used to?
There's
So
far fewer than half.
I mean,
Yeah,
but
there's
I
a
mean-
lot of people doing digital design these
Yeah.
days.
Although apparently for all its failings, the new Blade Runner apparently used a shitload of models.
Yeah, I think it's just a lost art.
Yeah.
I think there's probably still a lot of people doing it. Probably either people that did it back in the day that are still in the business, or like people who were enthusiasts.
Enthusiasts, yes.
Like, that are doing, because you're not going to make, because no filmmaker, no film company is going to pay the hundreds of thousands of dollars it takes to do model shoots.
when you can do CG.
When you can do
So
CG.
here's the
It's kind of
question.
sad.
Yeah.
As of recording, we're in this period where by the time this goes live, who knows what will have happened. But
In a couple of weeks.
World War III?
well, it's possible. So there's a lot of talk going on right now
Sadly
that Quentin Tarantino is in heavy talks
I
to
saw
write
this.
and direct the next Kelvin timeline film. You think he'd try to convince them to go to models for his Star Trek movie? Because I feel like if anyone would, it would be him.
Could be.
Because he loves his old style filmmaking.
More importantly, how will he work his foot fetish into this
That's
film?
true.
That won't be that hard.
So,
Sorry.
as you pointed out, the dude on the planet later goes on to play Samuel Clemens.
He does.
In later episodes.
So I
How did we just tie this back?
Yeah, I don't know, why not? So, about this episode, I remember when we realized it was, I feel like the title was a mistake.
When the bow breaks?
Because we're sitting there, it's like, we need something from you, Captain.
Shouldn't
And I
it
was
be
like,
called Robin
it was
the
like,
Cradle?
oh, it's the children.
Oh.
Because that's from that whole nursery rhyme. I mean, admittedly, it wasn't too long of a gap in the story between...
Isn't that nursery rhyme about babies dying?
But it's
though?
about children either way. So I was like, they need children.
Okay.
I mean, when the children shall lead was kind of a giveaway.
True.
Oh, sorry.
They do that, son. That's okay.
But yeah, I remember saying, like, oh god, we're the wrong people to review this episode, just because we're like, oh god, it's children
Yeah,
again.
every time Picard had to interact in a way that was either with one of the children or in favor of the children, you can tell how uncomfortable his character was.
And our reaction was like, yeah, that's
Extremely same.
Like, yeah,
like
I
us.
think we're fine. Just leave the children. In fact, take the rest of them, and we're good here.
That
Bye.
was Picard's only problem. It's like, what, they only took 6 in Wesley?
Well,
Take the rest!
Wesley is worth 10 other children in terms of headaches that I get. I would say what I loved about this episode was how, like, the fucking, what's his name? What was the guy's name? Who was in charge?
Oh, did I write his name? I don't know.
Ragu. Ragu was in charge.
I was thinking that too!
and he's like, I don't understand why you're so attached to these kids. Like,
You
why
can just
wouldn't
make
you?
more, right?
It's like, yeah, but you want them really badly. So do you really not get it, or like
His
what's
name
going
was
on?
Ragu?
No, it was
Radu.
It was Radu.
Oh, I was like, because it was Ragu, you could make the joke, too bad his wife wasn't Prego.
I love it. That was great. Yeah, but anyway, episode. I'm guessing that this ran a little short because I feel like we spent a lot of time getting back from far away.
There was a lot of watching Wesley trying to corral the children on the planet.
And like a lot of hunger strike and a lot of like watching them unleash their magical
art
baby powers. Like
I've got to admit though, this was, as far as a Wesley heavy episode goes, Wesley himself wasn't too annoying.
Yeah, except for the fucking dead read he does on every single line. Like, did the directors just not try? Because I feel like every line he has is like, "No, Alexandra, we're not eating. This is how we tell them we're not happy."
That's true. He has done better deliveries
like, Wesley,
in other episodes.
what the fuck are you doing?
Some directors, I think, can't direct children, and
But he was like...
he also, you can't write for him either, so there's nothing really to do with it.
He's halfway to real humanhood, though. He's like probably actually 16.
But here's the problem, though. They kind of they want to keep him. They want to keep writing him like a child, but they shouldn't. If they started writing him like an adult, and some of the much later episodes after, like, Will Wheaton leaves the show more or less. He becomes more of a. He's still on the show, but he's become
a recurring
guest.
Oh, man, when does that happen? I can't wait.
But he's much better at that point because they're like, oh, well, he can be an adult now. We don't have to write him like a 5-year-old.
Yeah, jeez.
But can we talk about the little girl, the little redhead annoying girl,
Alexandra,
who somebody was like, oh, we're gonna get, like, her aunt or someone gave her a pet tribble, and she just like shook it until it died, and then she's just like playing with the corpse the whole time.
She's that kid from Finding Nemo.
Yeah,
who's also a redhead.
She shook the bag.
Who also like instantly clung on to what's her name down on the planet. She's like,
Oh, yeah.
fuck my parents. I love this
Rochella, I
lady.
think.
Sure, what a terrible
he
name.
was a
mistake.
creeper.
Like, here would have been a much better solution. Like, we know that there's a whole... So, we'll get to the actual problem in a bit, I guess, but the mistake that the Metrons made... Not the Metrons. The Metrons are in the next episode.
The
Aldeans.
The Aldeans. Yeah, the Aldeans. The mistake they made with their plan was, instead of bringing down already hatched children, they should have asked the Enterprise crew...
come fuck them to death.
Well, to just like, can you donate us some eggs from your females and some sperm from Riker, and we'll make a bunch of children.
Riker's got it just all over the ship, so that's all set.
Just scrapes them off the wall.
It's just like they're mythical space Atlantis. There are people, if they just sent out a signal, like, please come move to our planet and have families here.
Yeah.
But again, then you don't have an episode.
Well, but also, eventually, though, those people would just keep going sterile.
Well, yes, but the people sending the signal didn't
maybe
realize
they've
what was
already
going
done
on.
that.
That's why you can't have artists in charge of your science.
So the whole problem ended up being ozone depletion.
Yes.
Which I find...
heavy-handed.
Well, yes, especially, like, I guess in the 80s...
Oh, God, yeah.
Ozone depletion was a huge concern.
I mean, do you not remember?
80s.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It
was all, like...
Oh, my God. As far as I was concerned, we were not going to have an ozone layer by the year 2000.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was... Oh, Australia's already gone. Well, fuck yeah, it's done down there, so...
Exactly.
How are things down under?
Ow, crikey. Dead.
Yeah.
It's covered in radiation.
I mean...
Have you seen those
And that's
snakes?
not to say that global warming hasn't turned out to be real. It just turns out that ozone depletion wasn't really part of that problem.
Well, but didn't the ozone layer start to regenerate though because we made changes?
Yeah, I mean it was
because we're using less CO2.
sulfur. I mean that's the thing. It's not that it wasn't an
or
issue,
something.
but we did manage to kind of curb it, which is nice.
It just turns out that. Oh, sorry.
No.
It just turns out that it wasn't nearly as big a problem as Dr. Crusher makes it out to
No,
be.
that's true.
Well, it's because we all learned the power of recycling, reducing, and reusing.
But yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I remember that time period, and it's heavy-handed, yes, but that's what everything was doing then. We're not going to have an ozone layer soon.
And there's precedent in Star Trek, the whale episode.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about heavy-handed?
Yeah.
The whales are going to be extinct in 23rd century, and they probably fucking will, because humans are terrible.
That's true.
So, but yeah, I mean, it turns out they bet on the wrong horse there, but at the same time, this other planet, maybe their ozone layer, once it's gone, it's gone.
Oh, yeah, polar bears are going to go for
Stop!
earlier
I
than
can't.
humpbacks. So.
I can't even talk about it. Like that picture, the video. I'm like,
Yeah, I saw
I
some.
didn't
I
even look.
I just saw the photo. I didn't
I
watch the video.
can't. I fucking cannot. Sorry.
So yeah, if they were doing it today and they wanted to do the ecological message, I feel like they would have gone with
Global warming.
global warming.
That's somehow killing their sperm.
Yeah, it cook
Or
your
the
balls.
meth-
Well, you know,
Clean your coal, everyone.
Human
Clean it up.
testes have an optimum temperature.
That's why they dangle.
Yeah, that's why they dangle.
And
No, it's true.
why they crawl.
Yeah. No, it really is, though. That's...
It's
Yeah.
All
cool.
in what way?
When it's cold,
do they
they
shoot
pull
out
themselves-
legs and
yeah. No, like when it's
crawl
cold, they
about?
constrict, so
Yes.
they get the heat. You know.
I didn't know that was referred to as
they-
crawling.
but
I
they-
just
if they
crawling
get-
up
if
your
they get
ass 'cause
too
it's so
hot-
cold. I don't know.
If they get too hot, they'll cook them.
You sunny side up your eggs.
Gotta go to a hot continent, Jake.
Yeah, overall, though, I mean, this episode was...
Dip my balls in the toaster.
They're done, honey.
Despite the sheer amount of children...
Yeah,
There were not many.
There were 7. But I think
That's
there
a
were
sheer
more in when the children
Miri,
show
certainly.
fuck
And
off.
here, yeah, there was way more in them.
But they didn't talk
Miri
too
was the
much.
worst.
I liked the premise. I mostly liked the execution. Again, I feel like Picard is still on point as to what we expect Picard to be. Overall, I actually really basically liked this one.
Yeah, me too.
It was another solid episode.
I wouldn't say
think.
liked, but I didn't hate. I did think for a second that Wesley was going to try to talk a computer to death.
Yeah, that would have
It was
been
exciting.
I'm glad it didn't, but...
Yeah, that was an undeveloped plot line. Was the
Custodian.
The
Yeah,
custodian.
admittedly.
No, they unplugged it. It was fine.
Yeah, I mean, it could. I mean, I
It
kind
was
of
a
felt
clapper.
like I was getting a Landru vibe,
Little bit,
Oh, me
little bit.
too.
and then they didn't. So I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't because that wasn't so much that it was controlling their society malevolently. It was just they were too stupid to question it. It wasn't that it was stopping
Yeah.
them.
It was the savior machine.
Yeah,
Is the whole idea that like, oh, when you
Wish upon a star.
when you give up your self-reliance and go on what a computer tells you to do.
yeah. Because that's presumably why they were able to, like, it was implicit, I thought. They'd never explicitly state it. But they were talking about, like, how have they not noticed these flaws in their security? Easy. They're not looking.
Yeah.
The computer needs
busy.
maintenance.
They're busy making wood dolphins.
Yeah.
and
It's full of malware. Someone
Yeah.
needs to defrag that shit and get some...
That's actually pop-ups.
Who
And,
downloaded Bonsai Buddy?
Not to mention all the heart porn.
yeah, so much hard
so
porn.
much.
They opened a spam email that their grandmother got by popping onto the wrong
Damn it,
Facebook
Grandma.
page. Like happens with my grandmother like 3 times a year. She'll get a duplicate account fucking trying to add all her friends and I'm like, you gotta stop fucking clicking on things that are bullshit. Ugh.
So, yeah. Does anyone else have anyone on this episode?
Not really.
It was definitely the better of the two.
Oh
Yeah,
no
Home Soil was
doubt.
pretty forgettable.
I will say, as a big old James Bond fan, I was super excited to see General Gogol there.
In the next one?
Yeah, the head of the little terraforming operation. I was like, why do I know that guy? And I looked him up, and he was a recurring... He was never a villain per se. He was the head of the KGB, mostly, I think, through the Roger Moore era, which was made, during the 70s when sort of détente was kind of going, so it was presented more as kind of an almost playful rivalry and not we all might nuke each other tomorrow, like it had been in the 50s and 60s. So that was exciting. For me, and Jake, as you pointed out, the sort of almost Bond movie level computers in the terraforming HQ.
Yeah, what was up
It
with
was
that?
distracting.
Yeah, set designers, what were you doing?
Saving money.
Yeah,
Seriously,
apparently.
because they really just had this very old analog look, and it's like these look shittier than some of the computers that were in fucking TOS.
It feels like the classic issue that we have like in theater and stuff. That you can have it good, cheap, or fast.
There was there was like a giant radar suite
There was. That
thing.
was weird.
That was like something
Maybe they really
Spectre
were.
would have in their HQ.
Well, yeah, like I said, the computers, the radar, the giant model of the planet. I was just waiting for Gurgle to be like, and now we take the nuclear codes. Ah!
Yeah.
Again, not that they ever actually
We
played
will
that part
make
in Bond.
every
but-
volcano on the planet explode at once.
Holy shit! The world is doomed.
But yeah, let's talk about what's her name.
Yeah, really.
I did not take down her name.
None of us did. She was fucking abysmal.
Gorgeous. Oh, sorry.
She was attractive.
I was too
She
busy
was all right.
being distracted by her. Like the way I described it,
Her
listeners.
lack of acting or lacting.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds too much like lactating. It's a little too close.
But the way I describe it is like, okay, all I can figure is Roddenberry saw this woman giving a tour in a museum, wanted to pork her, and was like, let's give her a part, maybe I can fuck her. Because her delivery, especially during the, like, explaining terraforming scene, was like, and now over here you can see our display. Fucking,
no, too
what's
much.
her name?
You're giving too much. That was already too much.
What's her name giving the tour in Star Trek 4 was doing better.
Oh, that's true.
Over here, you will see step 2, which includes water.
Whales.
Quiet, George and Gracie.
Are you scaring yourself a little bit right now?
Tiny bit.
Yeah.
The episode
Who's
itself
afraid of whales?
was
Weirdo.
kind of...
Porter did it better.
Yeah, it was a similar thing. And also, I just felt like it was kind of the same issue we had last week with Too Short a Season, where they
The
didn't
old
have...
age makeup was terrible.
No,
Yep,
they
that's
didn't
the
have
one.
enough plot, so they kind of had to stretch it out.
Yeah, it feels like there was lots of talking to the light.
Lots of talking to the light.
Look
I don't
into
know.
the light.
I did love Ugly Giant Bag.
Oh, that was
Mostly
amazing.
Water.
That was fucking amazing.
Great. And then they did me like, no, you guys are.
Yeah, that was even better.
That's kind of true.
That's an apt description, sir.
I wrote a comment in both last episode and this episode. First was Troy is useless as always, and this episode was more Troy being useless.
Yeah.
The character's name was Louisa Kim.
That's right.
She was played by Elizabeth Lindsay. She was Miss Hawaii in 1978. The following year, she made her television debut in an episode of Fantasy Island.
Was she shitty in that?
Starring
Ricardo Montalban. Yay.
And, what's his name was in The Man with the Golden Gun?
Uh-huh. The who?
The guy that played Rourke's sidekick, who's... Tatu. The guy that played
Seems
Tatu.
like she's had a pretty substantial career.
Maybe she got better.
Although she eventually
maybe
left television.
Maybe the director was just bad again.
when they learned that terraformers are often obsessive, maybe she did not understand that she should have a personality.
I love that. That's insane. This weird, like, oh yeah, they're all kind of borderline crazy. I'm sorry, what?
Like they're Scientologists or something.
Yeah, really.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, they're a weird cult. They
want to make planets livable.
they're CrossFitters.
What'd you find, Jay?
In 2010, she received the Visionary Award from the United Nations for her contributions in intercultural engagement and understanding, including her work with the Dalai Lama and with Islands First.
You just delivered that with about all the passion and expression that she ever did in this episode.
That's true.
Well, ma'am,
Good for her,
She
man.
found her true calling, which
Yeah,
was helping the world.
yeah, if you're listening, we appreciate your philanthropic work, whatever the hell that
Efforts
is.
of all kinds.
We apologize if you mean about your acting, but go back and watch this episode. You weren't very good.
Yeah, they did try to say, okay, maybe if she cries about how the crystals are dying, then she'll have some personality.
In that one scene, her acting was better.
It just didn't match what
Her
she was
face.
supposed to be doing.
Yeah, she was kind of grinning. And she could do a lip quiver like no one else.
Yeah.
What was I said when Google. What was his name?
Kurt Mandel.
Mandel and Picard were arguing in the ready room. I was like, ooh, they're having a bald off.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I felt like this episode had a lot of shades of Devil in the Dark.
Mm-hmm.
With the non-organic life form. And
Well, that wasn't organic. It was just silicon-based.
yeah, but organic means carbon-based.
Does it? Interesting.
Organic is specifically carbon?
Organic organic compounds refer to carbon-based compounds.
So all produce is organic.
All produce is organic.
Delicious.
In fact, a lot of things that aren't natural, so to speak, are also organic.
Wow.
As long as they...
What a fucking racket.
Yeah, well,
It
I mean,
certainly
the organic food movement has really co-opted. I mean,
Yeah.
what they're saying is we're not using... The organic food people would say, oh, well, our whole argument is we're not using synthetic chemicals, pesticides, things like that, which...
And now no GMOs has been tacked onto that.
Who fucking cares about GMOs?
Yeah, GMOs peoples are idiots.
I want
but
more
honestly,
GMOs.
Same.
the argument of the organic people is also flawed in that they're only talking about strictly, like, think about it this way. They're saying, if you buy this tomato, it's organic. It is not, we did not use any pesticides and we did not use any artificial fertilizer, right? Those are the two things. Like, so pesticides...
We pooped ourselves all over the place.
So first of all, without pesticides, the world would starve because pests would eat everything. So, okay. Anyway, next thing, we only use natural fertilizer, which means what? Manure, right?
Literally shit. Yeah.
So where do you... Okay, but that's fine. Manure's fine. It's
Yeah.
full of good stuff. So,
Only the tannins hate manure.
So now the question is, okay, well, where did that manure come from? Well, it came from a beef farm, perhaps. Okay, well, how did you get the beef? Okay, well, we had the cows on the farm that, were shitting.
Then we probably
And
fed
what are
with
they
GMO
eating?
corn.
Which we probably, again, then you say, okay, well, what did the cows eat? Well, they ate corn, which may or may not have been GMO. We don't know.
It was almost certainly GMO corn.
They're not going to give them non-GMO
But it's eventually,
corn.
but it's
There's
an
too many
endless
cows.
cycle. Eventually, it's all going to end up
Yeah.
with non-organic. It's
Yeah.
going to end up with, because, the cows at our beef farm are only fed organic corn. Okay, well, what about the manure that you use to grow the organic corn? Where did those cows get fed from? Eventually,
And I've gone cross-eyed.
it's non-sustainable. That's
Yeah.
just it. Organic
Yeah.
farming is non-sustainable because for every acre of organic farmland, you need hundreds of thousands, well, not hundreds of thousands, but you need exponentially more acreage
Yeah.
to create
Unless,
the manure to fertilize the organic farm.
unless, like Ames suggested, people who are only eating organic food are the ones shitting all over.
That's
organic
also
crops.
possible. So if you're farming at home, if you have a home garden and you're going out and shitting in it, and
You probably shouldn't. I'm going to call the police.
then you are A-okay.
You're in violation of the law.
Isn't there like an algae-based manure or something that these people who are doing like those like, oh, in case the world ends, I got my crazy shed full of fish that are technically and the fish are watering the plants and the plants are watering the fish in some weird
That
crazy
sounds
way.
cool.
At the end of the day, there's going to be some outside influence, and even if you do have, and that's the thing, like, well, or a lot of people be like, oh, well, this organic farm is actually legitimate. It's been certified and reviewed, and da 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 da. It's like, okay, great. Well, how many people is that organic farm feeding? Well,
5.
how many? Like, the question is, how many people per acre? Because here's the thing: on the planet Earth, we are already using most of the arable land. We do not have any more land to farm on.
Nope.
Oh, don't worry. Once all the ice melts in Antarctica, we'll have plenty
No,
left.
that's true. And so that, coupled with the fact that the population continues to grow, we're going to need GMO foods.
That's why we have the Aldeans had it figured out.
Yeah.
Eating organic is a fucking white privilege issue, in
Oh,
my
yeah.
opinion.
Oh, yeah,
And the
yeah,
fact
totally.
that it's the people that generally would do it are going to be liberal people who probably would not view themselves as, do this,
Yeah.
It's
It's a bit little hypocritical.
It's very hypocritical. It's like, listen, you can afford to eat organic because you live in the richest country in the world.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter for you.
Yeah.
But do not fucking bitch and moan about organic farming and Monsanto and so and all this shit. Because, yeah, the big corporations, yeah, I agree. Fuck those big corporations. At the same time, need to feed the fucking planet.
Yeah.
We're going to need golden rice.
Deal with the devil.
We're going to need fucking wheat that can get the bigger yields on the same amount of land.
Yeah.
I was reading a great article about farming, and I want to say the Netherlands, and how they just have like gigantic, like city-sized greenhouses that are enormous, and they provide like I think most of the tomatoes or something in the world.
Wow.
Whoa.
Just because they have like everything down to a science over there.
How sick of tomatoes are the people in Netherlands, you figure?
I mean, that's another thing we're probably going to need. Vertical farming eventually, right?
Yeah.
Because we are running out of horizontal land, but with hydroponics you can stack things up. But here's the thing about like greenhouses, as long as they're open, as long as they're powered by sunlight.
Yeah.
But a lot of greenhouses, a lot of hydroponic farming, the energy needs for hydroponic farming are enormous.
Yeah.
So that's another aspect
And that's why we need terraforming. So we can just turn the moon into a farm.
No.
Well, here's another
Or the light side of the moon.
Here's another problem
Mars, then.
with
No, there's
organic farms is
Both sides of the moon get light.
Oh,
There
yeah.
isn't a dark side of the moon.
That's
There's
right.
just-
We just
there's
don't
There's a
far,
sign
there's
that
a far side.
There's a
and
far and a near.
the
That's
one
right.
side always faces us.
I
Yeah,
forgot.
this isn't what Mercury is the one that doesn't actually.
Oh,
revolve.
right.
Well, the moon is tidally locked to the Earth, but the moon does revolve around the Earth.
Yes.
So all sides of the moon do face the sun.
Yes.
at one point.
But there are planets that only ever see one side of the
Yeah,
sun.
because its like rate of rotation and its rate of orbit are such.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yes, terraforming
Terraforming.
and angry
Boring
crystals.
as hell.
That was the funny part. Like, could this be inorganic life? Do you guys forget a few weeks ago when a giant crystalline entity tried to eat you? Pretty sure that wasn't organic, but it seemed pretty alive.
And yeah, I mean, this is not the first time we've encountered inorganic life.
No.
And it won't be the last time.
Yeah, and the Horda, inorganic apparently, which, thank you for correcting that, is still like...
Yeah, but I think they could recognize it.
It was
they
moved. It was more obvious.
It was obviously a life form.
This, they had to, prove that some fucking microscopic hoodly-what's it was, in fact, alive, which, So it was still unique. It just wasn't as unique as they were trying to make it out to be.
And also in the fact that, I don't know, it was just dumb. It was a micro brain. It was a stupid micro brain.
I mean, it managed to almost take over the ship.
It was very smart for a micro brain.
It was.
Yeah, so what did it do? It hacked it in the computer?
Basically, yeah.
Holy shit. What a fucking revelation.
Everything hacks its way into the computer on the fucking Enterprise.
They need some fucking better... I mean, again, they need better fucking
Encryption,
antivirus on that
IT
shit.
is terrible in the 23rd and 24th centuries.
I'm just
And the
picturing
21st century, frankly.
somewhere in the lower decks of the ship, there's the help desk.
And
There's
there
just,
are
just a bunch of guys drinking Mountain Dew and having Cheetos and just sitting in the dark. Hello, Enterprise help desk.
Have you tried turning it
off and on again. Yeah.
Okay, so did you actually install the alien into the computer? Did the tentacle go into the socket? Fuck.
One went into the socket, one went into Riker.
Whoa.
Riker's okay with the one in him, though. Okay.
Whoa.
It's
I
consensual.
feel like he'd be into it.
Tell me exactly what you told the holodeck to make. Okay.
Oh.
Does he
God damn it.
So,
Does he then fall in love with the tentacle monster?
this just made
That's
me
what I
think
need
of
to
something,
know.
right? Right? I should have brought this up in the Galaxy Quest episode, but I'm only thinking of it now.
This is 2 episodes in a row where we're going into the Wayback Machine.
Can she, like when Tony Shalhoub and... What's her name? Liara?
Tentacle
Liara.
monster.
Liari get it on? So you think, while he's doing... She's also got one up in his ring piece, and it's like...
Probably.
Anyway,
I'm
sorry.
sure- I'm
You
sure-
just love
Why
to
did
say
you bring
ring
that up?
piece all the time on this
Because
podcast.
tentacle
Terrible
monsters
word.
and...
Yeah, and also and honestly, ring piece, that's fine, but we know where the real humor is when referring to an anus.
Oh no, I'm sorry, I caused this.
Anyway,
It's brown
I don't
eye.
have much.
Or bronze eye.
Or bronze eye.
I like bronze eye
I
because
hope
it sounds
that
like
made it in. I hope
bonsai.
that made it in, Chris.
I don't remember.
What episode was it? Do you
It was
remember?
the one that aired this week, he said.
But
Oh, really? We have to listen to it.
I don't know. Anyway, yes. Yeah, I don't know.
Data is great at dodging lasers.
He
Mueller.
is. That's
Oh, and it,
Also, the lasers didn't seem that fast.
it looked so bad. Like, could
It
you,
didn't
The
look
little
could you at
left
least
and right.
fast forward it? Like, that's what I was like.
Yeah.
It just at least make it look like he has superhuman speed, not just like whoa, whoa. Like.
But you were right, though, you two. I think you've said it earlier, but him emerging from the smoke.
So
he's just like.
Data sex machine.
Instead,
Literally.
alternate version, the door opens and it's just him next to lying next to the destroyed laser, smoking a cigarette.
He's trained in many techniques.
Do you think after he fucked Tasha, he asked the replicator for cigarettes? And she's like, what do you do? Do you smoke? He's like, well, no, but according to everything I've studied, this is traditional post-coital action.
Data.
I picture Data smoking a cigarette. It would just run,
Yeah.
just run down immediately, one
he
breath.
puts $100 on her bureau. I understand this is a Nerf custom.
It's 100 quatloos.
Excuse me. Glad you could mansplain that to me.
So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not a bad episode aside from that woman's performance.
Mm-hmm.
No, it wasn't
It
great.
There was so
thoroughly
much. There
boring.
was so much padding, the
Yeah.
long expository scene telling us about terraforming, the long expository scene looking at close-ups on a fucking light switch.
True. Good, Picard speech at the end again, though,
Yeah,
Very Picard. It's like, look,
he's getting Picardier.
We've made peace. Now let's still be friends. And it's like, yeah, fuck you. He's like, oh, I understand. It's okay.
Yeah.
I
Very
definitely,
specific, though. Come back in 300 years.
Yeah, it is oddly.
I hope they mark their calendar because
Oh.
if you don't, that's rude.
That reminds me.
True.
Cameo in this episode, the engineering ensign, as I discovered when looking up stuff online, was the woman who played the Metron in Arena.
tweed.
Which one's the Metron again?
The weird sort of blonde-haired.
The glowing pretty boy.
We are looking at Jake's poser to.
She looks like a weeping angel.
She's the one that broke up the fight between Kirk and the Gorn.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But that was her.
I thought
as
that
the-
was a male actor.
Yeah, I thought so too. But
Well, I think they may have
but
overdubbed her.
the glowing, I'm sure.
Or futzed with their voice, because
Oh, yeah,
I feel like it
she
was
was-
more sort of
Yeah, a
deeper.
la the
and-
Binar.
Yeah.
Oh, the Telosians. They do that a lot. Where
They
they
do.
decide, let's have the character be played by a woman, but make it a male voice, so that it's the future. I don't even know.
aliens.
How the fuck do they work?
Magnets. That's all I know.
I hated the terraformer uniform. It was very ugly.
It was dumb. Yeah, they had.
I like
silly
the
belts.
buttons.
I
opening
liked
button flap.
the flap, but I didn't like the fact that for some reason, like, a quarter of the uniform is just a completely different material than the rest. It was weird.
That's how I feel about jackets with those weird patches on the elbows. I just see no point to that.
Yeah, I think it's the theory behind it is that it keeps the elbow from getting worn down if you lean on your elbow a lot.
I want that
Because
on
that
my
patch
knees.
is usually like suede or leather or something.
Oh yeah, I know. I
So
just
it's
think it looks
stronger than
stupid. I just think it looks dumb.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm not saying it's not useful. Just
That would be good on knees, actually. They must make workers' trousers that do that.
Or like the insides of like the
the
thighs,
thighs
of pants
on jeans and
That would be
stuff.
useful.
so that they
Well,
don't
you can,
wear.
you can actually like get reinforced.
They definitely
I
make.
should do that.
The thing is, like, I've seen them before, but I think they're for riding usually. The reinforced thigh trousers.
Well,
like horses?
I'll have to start riding apparently.
Fair enough.
You'd look cute in some little rider's pants.
Thank you,
In
Caitlin.
boots?
With a little hat.
Ooh. In a little riding crop.
Mmm.
Oh my, this has gone places.
I think they need a bit alone, Jake. You and I want to go. I don't know. What the hell do men do alone? I don't even know.
touch dicks.
Touched it.
Oh God.
I don't get to say that as much in this series. So
Okay.
Well, white girl will get there. Don't worry.
The guy, the other terraformer with the cleft in his chin so deep, I'm sure he was hiding drugs in there.
mullet Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
What
There was
the
a Mark
fuck? He
Hamill
had
quality to him.
way too much party in the back. You need a fucking haircut. You need to stop stealing people's shit and stick it in your butt chin.
A lot of people seem to have too much. Like, I mean, I said it ages ago. I thought Wyatt Earp there had too much party in the back.
Wyatt Earp.
I didn't say it, I think, last week, but I thought Jameson's hair was too long in the back.
Oh, his.
It was just the look in the 80s. Just too
Yeah,
much-
it's
I
terrible
know, I
decade.
know. Mullets.
Terrible
Mullets
decade.
were a thing. I just. Ugh, I don't like it. I'm sorry.
hair, the clothes.
I can like the ponytail is fine.
Is it
a
worse
man
than
bun is
man
okay?
bun?
No, I don't mind.
There
I
are some
actually,
man buns that look bad though.
yeah, if the guy does it like a sloppy shithead, but that's the same can be said about women. Like when I used to
That's
pull back
true.
my hair, it looked like a fucking hot mess. That's why I
No,
cut it all
you have
off.
Lovely hair, Kate.
Oh, you're lovely. Thank you.
I've seen men who can pull off long hair. I've seen men who can pull off ponytails. I've seen men who can pull off the man bun.
But I've never seen an elephant fly.
But I have never seen a man
That's good, Kate.
that didn't look like white-ass trash with a mullet.
Oh yeah, no white ass try. Yes, mullet makes
No
you look.
one can pull off a mullet. No one.
Exception. 2 people I can think of.
Okay.
Buttnick and Salute Your Shorts.
No.
I had a huge thing for him when I was like 10.
No, he still looked stupid.
No, it was great.
Yeah,
I haven't.
I thought you just had long hair.
I feel like he had kind of bangs in the front.
Yeah, I think it was
Situation.
kind of
His name
mullety.
Budnick?
Budnick. I don't remember.
Sputnik. Who was the second one?
The second one, so my uncle used to play. So my uncle is only like 13 years older than me, and when I was like 5 years old, his like friends would come over after high school, and I had a crush on one of his friends, and I have found out in looking at old pictures that man had a fucking gigantor mullet. It was huge.
I think you might just have a slight white trash fetish.
I mean, you are from New Hampshire.
I like how you whispered that. There's a movie I watched once where like they were talking about how so and so's mother would like whisper things that were meant to be like, you know, that you shouldn't talk about, and she was like, "Did you hear about Deb's mom? Cancer." And that's what it felt like you just did. You're from New Hampshire.
I mean, it's pretty embarrassing.
I know.
I'm
Someone from out of state recently told me, you know, oh yeah, but you're a masshole, and I was like, no, man, I'm a transplant from New Hampshire. They're like, yeah, but you've been here long enough. I said, not to the natives. No such thing. No such thing.
Most of the natives have been gentrified out. It's fine.
Of course,
That's true.
of course, with New Hampshire, you can
How
never
many
go
natives
back.
do you
Exactly. I was gonna say, if you're if, like the true native masshole is a massive racist.
I mean,
That's true.
The native New Hampshireite is not much better.
No,
Well,
that's
I'm
true,
not
too.
saying I'm not saying it's better or worse. I'm just saying like Like, they're listening to, AM talk radio.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I've lived here my whole life, but I'm generally not too racist.
You came out pretty well, and also you don't have the accent.
No, I know.
Not a trace of it.
Jake slips into it every so often.
You know what it is? I think...
It's when you're around your father.
Yeah, well, it's when you're around other people with the accent. It's like...
It's mimicry. I'll do it.
It's empathy. It's
Empathy?
a trait of being an empath.
Jake,
Are you
I'm sensing something. I'm sensing
empath.
you are full of shit.
I'm glad that's where you went. I was hoping that's where you were going.
That's where I went. I got there. We're
No,
there.
I was actually who was I was listening to Lawrence O'Donnell on on a radio show recently.
What's a Lawrence O'Donnell? Sorry.
Lawrence O'Donnell is a Senate aide, but he's most famous for being a television writer. He did a lot of writing on The West Wing. He's a pretty famous guy. He's done a lot of writing, but he was also involved in politics during like the Clinton years. But he's a Boston guy. But he's he's very well spoken. But he was talking about how whenever he goes home, he just like immediately falls into that, and like he's like old Boston Irish, like from Southie. So he's like, oh yeah, it is so racist. Like I'm very lucky that I somehow avoided falling into like that potential risk of being.
Everyone's a little bit racist. So.
Well, I was a little bit racist, but at the same time, there's a
No,
little bit
there's
racist,
a
and
lot of it.
then
Actual
there's South
true
Boston
racism.
Irish. There's
Well, think about there's some native Bostonians that like kicked the shit out of that Latinx homeless person. Like,
Yeah.
it's everywhere. The only difference between the South and the North, really, is that in the South, they're willing to call you a whatever to your face, and up here, we're kind of like, no, we love you, as soon as they're gone. Oh, did you see that?
Yeah, as soon as you're at the fucking bar at the Knights of Columbus.
Yeah, the good old nights, going to a time, isn't it? So when I was in college, I used to go home for visits, because New Hampshire has a very slightly different accent than Massachusetts, not much different. But I would come home and I'd be talking, like, from New Hampshire, and my friends would be like, what the fuck is wrong with your voice? What are you doing? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you sound weird. I was like, I fucking don't know. I was with my people. We just fucking talk this way. I don't know. So I would come back and my accent would be really thick.
Nice.
But nowadays, it only comes out when I'm swearing at incompetence on the road. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? You're fucking killing me. Go the fuck back to New Jersey, you motherfucker. It just comes out.
Or Rhode Island.
That was a
Often
really-
Rhode Island.
That was a really bad example of my totally real Boston accent.
I
But
just start shouting in fake Italian.
You do.
The Bellagio.
Oh my god.
This
I
has
love
been
it.
Masshole Corner.
To be fair, Jake, at least from your surname, I'm guessing you are Italian,
I
so
have
it's
a little
permitted.
Italian in me.
Right now?
It's a whole sub.
It's a whole song!
Okay, I think it's time to wrap up.
Oh, Ames
Show
gets in a
over.
good one.
Show
Jesus
over.
Christ. Game over, man. Game over.
Oh, he died. All right.
Way to make it sad, Jake.
All right, so I guess we're done here.
Good segue, Jake.
This was a start, a steer by, I think. Next week we'll be talking about 2 more episodes. Wesley almost goes all the way in Coming of Age, and Worf almost goes all the way in Heart of Glory. Hole.
Yes.
In Hole of Glory.
Yes.
Oh man,
Jesus.
we're quickly. I was gonna say fastly. Is that a word?
Fastly, yeah.
We are fastly approaching the end of season 1. These are episodes 19 and 20. So
Wow.
we're
How many is
getting-
it, 23?
It's 24. It might even be 26. Season 1 was long.
We're gonna be running into the Romulans soon. Then.
Yeah, we'll get some Romulan action. We're gonna
I'm gonna
get
bitch
some.
about their makeup.
We're gonna get some good stuff coming up. But yeah, next week will be interesting, and we look forward to sharing it with you. As I said, this has been A Star to Steer Her By, and you can find us on Facebook. If you search A Star to Steer Her By, you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, all the great podcast websites. If you do, please subscribe to us and give us a rating, 5 stars or above, and a review as brutal as you want to be. And you can also find our Tumblr and our Twitter feeds at SSHB podcast. Again, we occasionally post crap up there, so check it out. And also like and subscribe on those feeds. I think that's all I got. So with that, my name is Jake.
This has been Chris.
This has been Ames.
And this is always Caitlin.
See you later, bozos.
What?
I was gonna say, when you sell Wesley to the Aldeans, make sure you get a receipt.
Oh.
Quentin Tarantino is in heavy talks
I
to
saw
write
this.
and direct the next Kelvin timeline film. You think he'd try to convince them to go to models for his Star Trek movie? Because I feel like if anyone would, it would be him.
Could be.
Because he loves his old style filmmaking.
More importantly, how will he work his foot fetish into this film?
That's true.
That won't be that hard.
I hope he, if that does happen, I hope he closes the Kelvin timeline somehow. Because here's the thing that I realized. There seems to be a conception that the Kelvin timeline is a parallel timeline. So I like somebody online was like, oh, well, no, you don't have to worry about it because, everything that happened in our show still happened and it's just a diverging timeline.
No.
But that literally can't have happened. They actually destroyed Vulcan, where some of the episodes and things.
Well, the idea,
happened and stuff?
this is the same problem I have with Back to the Future. In Back to the Future, the first one, it is a single continuum. When Marty goes back to 1955 and prevents his parents from kissing, he starts to disappear in the photograph, and then eventually, or his siblings disappear, and then he eventually starts to disappear.
Total cop.
Single continuum, right? He changed something in the past, and it has affected him in the future. However, in Back to the Future Part 2, Biff goes back to 1955, old Biff, gives young Biff the book, young Biff changes the future.
Yep.
Marty goes back, doesn't start to disappear. He remains completely intact, and in fact, there's presumably a second Marty in Biff's 1985, so you have multiple timelines.
Yeah, he's probably... Biff mentions that he's supposed to be at boarding school in Switzerland.
Exactly.
Presumably that Marty is there.
And Doc, when they're in the lab, he even explains on the blackboard that there's two timelines. So that's what I mean when I say single continuum and diverging timelines. Star Trek is well established as having a single continuum because in City on the Edge of Forever, when they go back and change, when Bones goes back
And yesteryear.
Exactly. And yesteryear, when they deal with the Guardian, basically, they go back in time, they change the past, and shit outside of the protected area around the Guardian gets fucked.
Yeah.
Right? Single continuum. Also, we haven't gotten here yet, but a little tiny spoiler. Yesterday's Enterprise. Something changes in the past, affects the present, single continuum. They have to restore the timeline. Myriad examples of this. Also, tomorrow is yesterday. They had to put the pilot back. Yada, yada, yada.
But there is a multiverse.
Well, there's two. We know there's two universes.
Yeah, there's
Well,
mirror.
no, well more, because there's that episode, again, mild spoilers, where
parallels.
Worf, sees thousands.
Yeah, parallels. Season 7 is fanfic. So point is, people are like, oh, well, Kelvin is a multiverse because they're wishful thinking. And because old Spock isn't affected, but regardless. But I would prefer, since we've already established that Star Trek is a single continuum, I would prefer it if we could close out the Kelvin timeline by somehow preventing the destruction of Romulus in the future. And here's how I think Quentin Tarantino could do it. Quentin, if you're listening, I hear it. You can hire me. It's fine. You can contact us on Facebook. Start to steer her shit by start to steer her by. Anyway, Quentin, give me a call.
Can I call you Q?
Here's how you do it. And because there's also news this week that Patrick Stewart would be interested and willing to return to Star Trek.
Specifically if it's in the Quentin Tarantino one.
Oh, is that true? Okay. Well, great. Well, this is even better. So, as we know, Captain Picard has a little hard-on for Romulus, or we don't know yet, but eventually we'll learn that Captain Picard has a little hard-on for Romulus, and he has a hard-on for Spock. They're buddies. So, Captain Picard actually was with, or near, Romulus at the time that it exploded. Now, we know that Spock entered the singularity shortly after the Narada, but he emerged 25 years later.
Yeah.
In the past, so the Narada comes out of the anomaly in near the Kelvin.
Yep.
And has the fight with the Kelvin, and then goes away. And then, like 25 years later, Spock's ship pops out and gets captured by the Narada.
Yeah.
So it stands to reason that if somebody entered the anomaly even a short time later in the future, they would emerge much, much later in the past. So Picard trying to maybe rescue Spock, I don't know, trying to do something, flies a ship into the anomaly. He emerges in the Kelvin universe, in the Kelvin timeline, let's say. And the temporal mechanics of this don't completely work, but neither does the Kelvin timeline.
Neither does any temporal mechanics. It's fine.
Whatever. So he emerges in the Kelvin timeline after old Spock, finds the Enterprise, finds Kirk. They have an adventure. Captain Picard, Captain Kirk, together. An actual Kirk and Picard movie like we should have had in Generations, but we didn't because fuck Rick Berman and fuck him! Anyway.
Rick Berman is pretty shit.
Anyway, so they have a proper adventure, and somehow, and Quentin, we can work on this, somehow they manage to avert the future destruction of Romulus, thus preventing the Kelvin timeline from coming into existence at all.
So, even before this whole Quentin Tarantino thing came up, there was talk that the story idea for 4 was somehow going to bring back George Kirk. So,
okay, even better. Maybe
I think you figured out Star Trek 4.
Maybe what they do is they realize, well, the only way we can, because if we prevent the destruction of Romulus in this timeline, well, then we'll also have prevented you from coming back, and then we end up with a paradox.
Loop thing,
There's a paradox there. So maybe the only way to do this is to go back to when the Kelvin was destroyed by the Narada using some other form of time travel, perhaps slingshot method, who knows?
Guardian.
But they take the Enterprise, Guardian possibly, Picard and Jim Kirk take the Enterprise back to Kirk's birth.
Mm-hmm.
They team up with George Kirk on the
punch
Kelvin
baby Kirk in the face.
to punch the Romulan dude and fly back through the anomaly as it's forming, just like in the, not to spoil the series finale of this show, they fly through the thing. There's an anomaly. It's made of anti-time. They go through. They repair the sun at Romulus. The red matter works. They collapse the timelines into one, and everything's restored.
You know what? Since this is already turning into ludicrous fan fiction anyway, maybe they go back in time by using the Bajoran wormhole somehow.
We
just throw everyone in.
Sisko helps them. Benjamin Sisko helps them.
I think Jake's having an erection.
Sisko!
Jake is like jerking 2 dicks into his face. I don't understand.